Namaste friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Steffi Jane and I'm your yoga teacher today. I run 4 Zoom classes a week. This is one of the sessions that I've recorded from these classes. So if you'd like to get involved, please check out the links below. You can email me or subscribe to my emailing list. And today we are doing a hip opening sequence. So we're going to be starting on the ground and loosening everything up with some nice stretching and then moving to some standing postures to build some strength. So this is a really good sequence for anyone who has been doing lots of cycling or lots of walking. If you're enjoying my classes, please make sure you subscribe and like, or even leave a nice comment. This will really help me grow my YouTube channel. As always, make sure you listen to your body and enjoy. Okay, so start on your mat. We're going to come into happy baby to start. So to do that, just roll down, laying on your back. And just take a moment to settle. Actually allow your knees to fall in. Just taking a moment to settle your body and come into your breath. Starting to relax your face, your shoulders and your neck, your palms and the rest of your body, feeling the arches of your spine against the mat and feeling your feet grounding down into the mat. Start to breathe deeply into your nose and again out through your nose. Starting to slow everything down and arrive here in the present moment. And start to lift your feet up into the sky and holding onto the outsides. If you feed your hands in between your legs and then hold onto the outside of both of your feet. Yeah, and this is called happy baby. And you'll notice that your spine is straight against the mat. So you can just start playing around in this position. You can, try and straighten a leg and bend a leg, just like a baby playing in a cot. So just have a bit of fun with the position. You might like to do some little circles with your feet. You can even try and bring your feet together and then out. I quite like to kind of rock from one side to the other side. So you're straightening one leg as you rock and then rocking over to the other side. Kind of straightening one leg each time. I find that quite nice and relaxing. So yeah, just any movements that feel good for you. And again, continue to breathe nice and slowly as you invite a bit of movement and play into your legs. And now continue to hold onto the outside of your feet and really push up into the ceiling while you pull down with your hands. So your knees are going to be bent and it's as though your knees are being pulled into your armpits. So you're trying to push away and pull at the same time. So just coming into stillness in the posture, you'll have a nice straight back against the mat. And you're pulling your knees into your armpits. Opening your hips up a bit more. Again, taking a nice slow breath in through your nose. And then exhale out through the mouth. And another breath like that, inhale. And then exhaling out. And then release both of your legs up to the ceiling. Or bringing in the right knee to your chest and sending the left leg long. And just pulling that leg into your armpit again to the outside. Taking in a nice breath, inhaling here. And then you can either keep this leg long or you can bring it up to be planted on the floor. This just protects the lower back a bit more. So now extending the foot up to the ceiling. We're extending our heel to the roof and our hands are clasped behind our thighs. behind our hamstrings. And we're just really pushing up to the ceiling. And then on every exhale, we can slowly bring our leg closer towards our chest, but also have your thigh pressing against your hands as well. So you kind of pull in and press in at the same time, so you're getting that engagement. And this can have, the free leg can be long or bent, up to you with how you feel. Just bent will protect the lower back a bit more. So another breath, really pushing up to the ceiling, pushing away from your body with your leg, but also pulling slightly with your hamstrings. One more breath. And then starting to bend the knee, and we cross the foot across our body into a figure 4 position. Sit and start to bring that closer to our body. Then once we're close enough, we can feed our hands underneath and behind our hamstrings again, but on the left leg this time. And slowly using the breath to pull the hip and the leg closer towards our chest. And then you'll feel a nice opening in the right hip. And just remember to use your breath whenever you do this. You might be able to hold on to the shin if you want a bit more intensity. This might be too much, that's okay. You can just hold the hamstrings. Just take the option that feels good for you. You might even like to rest your hand on your right knee. You might be able to just push that away slightly. And again, breathing nice and slowly through your nose and out through your mouth. And if you want a tiny bit more intensity, you might roll only slightly over to the left side. So you're just tipping slightly on the left side of your body. And you might be able to find a tiny bit more of a stretch. And you might even like to rock in between, having your back straight and just slightly over to the left and then back. It's not much of a movement, but you might feel a tiny bit more of a stretch here. One more breath. So this is really good for sciatica, or if you're sitting down a lot, this is a nice stretch. You can also do this on a chair and leaning over a desk with your hands long. Now, sliding with your right hand, touch that on your knee, just slide that knee across. So you're just pushing that knee further across. Now your knees are crossed over each other into a cross-legged position, and we're going to roll over to the left side. So you go in the same direction as your top leg. Hands come out wide in a T, and we look over to our right side. So we're doing a spinal twist, but with both of our legs crossed on top of each other. And as we breathe, allow the right shoulder to drop down onto the mat, opening up our chest, and allow the legs to flop over to the left side. So we're getting that nice twist in the upper and the lower back. Just breathing into any tension we're holding, coming back into our face and our neck, trying to really relax every part of our body. Taking in one more breath, nice and slowly through the nose and out through the mouth. And then using your core or your hands to help, slowly come back up on an inhale. Back to center. Release the leg long again. And then just do any movements that you'd like with your hip. You can just do some big circles. Bend the knee, any movements that feel good. So just doing some nice juicy circles, opening up the hip. Again, slowly with the breath. Just explore your range of movement. Sending the leg long again. And then bringing the left leg up to meet. So we've got both legs long, nice big stretch up to the ceiling. This time sending the right leg long and keeping the left knee hugged into the chest. Really stretching away with the right foot and the left knee coming into the left armpit. Feeling that nice strong spine. And then option to bend the knee or keep it long, up to you. See how you go with your lower back. And then pressing the left foot up to the ceiling. And really pressing the heel away from our body. I'm trying to flex the toes closer towards our face. Trying to wiggle the toes, spread them out. As we flex our toes, we can have a bit more of a stretch. Hands are clasped behind our hamstrings. And then as we push away a bit more, we can start to bring our thigh closer towards our chest, but at the same time using the leg to push away into our hands, so we're feeling that tension. And just using every exhale and every out breath to relax into the posture even more. So without forcing anything, but we want that tiny bit of tension and stretch. One more breath. And then exhale, bend the knee, cross the ankle now on the right knee, and then start to bring both your legs closer to your chest, and we feed the hands underneath the thighs. So in a figure 4 position again, this time with the left leg bent in front of us. And again with the breath, slowly bringing the knee closer towards our body, using the exhale to bring it closer. And there's a few variations. You might be able to hold onto your shin bone and bring it in a bit closer. You might be able to use your elbow or your left hand to just push the knee away slightly to open up the hips a tiny bit more, but this could be quite intense. And you can also start to rock over towards the right side, and then you get a bit more of a stretch in the left hip. So it's just a tiny movement, but you will get a bit more of a stretch if you rock over to the right side. And if this is too much to stay here, you can rock backwards and forth, nice and slowly. Slowing down the breath. Allowing the breath to release all the muscles, any tension that we're holding in our hips, which is where we hold a lot of our emotion. So if any emotion's coming up, just allowing it to pass by with non-judgment. Now, bringing your left hand to your left knee, we can just slide that knee across now. So we've got both of our knees crossed in front of each other. And then we keep twisting that same way. We're twisting to the left side. You might need to move your bottom over a tiny bit. So twisting to the left and looking over twisting to the right and looking over the left shoulder. And allowing that left shoulder to come closer to the mat. And our legs flopping over to the right. Inhaling, and every exhale, surrendering even more into the posture, allowing the left shoulder to relax further. I'm trying to bring that closer to the mat. One more breath. Exhaling out through the mouth. And then using the core to come up on an inhale, or you use your hands to help. Come back to center. Unravel your knees, sending both legs up. Pushing away, maybe we do a few little circles with our legs. And now with the left leg, doing some nice big circles. Exploring our range of motion. And then bringing our knees into our chest, giving ourselves a nice big hug in a circle. We can just do a few little rotations to massage our sacrum. And then we'll start rocking backwards and forth along the spine. until we come up to our tabletop. Hands directly under our shoulders and bring our toes to touch and then our knees wide. We come into a wide-legged child's pose, sending our hips back, which is really nice for the hips. And ladies, if you are having any period pain, you can also have nice fists in your hips and then you can bend over doing the same posture. It's also a nice one to relieve any pain. Otherwise, just stretching forward, nice big stretch with your body, allowing the head to be resting on the mat. Stretching back with your sits bones and your hips, stretching forward with your hands. And then we start to snake our body forward. Chest comes close in between our arms, all the way to our hands, and we push up and away from our body, stretching through the top of the shoulder blades, and we send the hips back. So we call this rising snake. So we're slithering forward in between our hands, and then when we get to our hands, pushing up, pressing through the tops of the spine, and we send the hips back. Just doing a few rounds of this, flowing with your breath. Exhaling as we go back. And inhaling as we snake our body forward and we rise. And pushing away from our hands. And we come into a seated position. So come into a seat, and we're going to bring our right leg up to our chest. So this is called rock the baby. So you can just try and cradle your leg like a baby, and you might have it down closer to here, depending on the opening of your hip. Down here, you might be able to bring it up to your chest. So wherever you're at, we're just going to do some nice little circles, opening up the hip. And then holding onto the outside of the foot, similar to what we did with Happy Baby, extending so we're feeding our hand in between our legs, but then holding onto the outside of our foot, extending the spine nice and long, so we're balancing on our sits bones. And then we might be able to bring the knee up to the side. And then we might even be able to open up the leg. So just wherever you're at. And then you might, come over to the side, but we want to try and keep a nice straight back, long spine. So we're having that chest coming forward. And then really slowly pressing the heel down. And then turning our body towards our toes, give them a little wiggle. Cool. Inhale, reaching up to the ceiling, and on the exhale, you might have to do a slight bend in the knee. We're going to melt our body forward, but we're focusing on our chest coming towards our thighs, so we're not arching our back and flopping into the posture. We're feeling that length of our spine. And it doesn't matter how low we get down, it's more how far forward. We're trying to stretch forward and keep that length in our spine. So you might be able to just keep walking your fingers forward. If you can hold onto your calves, that's good. If you can get to your ankles, it's also good. You might be able to walk your fingers out past your foot as well. And again, a micro bend in your leg is also okay. You might even be able to give your feet a little bit of reflexology and a massage, but just allow the breath to melt your body into the posture. So on every inhale, we're lengthening a bit more. And on the exhale, we melt into the posture a bit more. Slowly walking back with our hands. And we bring that leg in and we come over to the other side. So bringing the left leg up into cradle our baby. And again, this can be low and out. You can do some nice little circles. You might be able to bring it up. You'll get a bit more of a stretch in the bottom here if you bring it higher. So just experiment with what your hip needs, just holding the legs so that we can have some support while we're exploring the range of motion. And continue to breathe nice and slowly. And then feeding our left hand through and holding onto the outside of the foot. Sitting up nice and tall, balancing on our sits bones. So we're getting that nice length in our spine. And then we start to bring our foot out. And if we just get it to the side with a bent leg, that's okay. We don't need to get it straight. The main thing is that we're keeping a nice straight spine and we're balancing on our sits bones. Once we have balance, we might be able to send our foot a bit longer. And again, if it's not completely straight, that's okay. Growing tall with our spine and smile. One more breath. And then releasing the foot nice and slowly. Be careful not to fall down. Turning our body to face our left toes, giving them a bit of a wiggle. And we inhale, we reach up. Stretching up to the ceiling, and then imagine that we're going over a big beach ball. So our chest is coming towards our thigh, and we might need to do a little bend in the knee. That's okay. Starting to soften our body and still feel that length of stretching forward. Inhaling and exhaling. And just noticing how we can use the breath to soften into the posture. And maybe you give yourself a bit of love and a massage on your foot or your calf. One more breath. Melting down a bit further. Stretching forward with your fingers. And then starting to walk. Our feet back up. Bringing both feet into center. We're going to just kind of come forward into our froggy pose. And again, we can come onto the balls of our feet and just rock from side to side. Opening up our hips. And then if we bring our feet a bit wider than our hands, we're going to be able to end up coming into stillness into the posture with our feet flat on the mat and our hands in at our heart. But if you're having a bit of tightness in your hips, you can just continue to rock from side to side. That's also okay. If you're comfortable within this position, we can sit back. And again, to spread the legs wider, that will help you get the feet flatter on the mat as well. Using your elbows to press into the knees. Again, nice long spine, so we're lifting up when we do this. A lot of the time we're trying to hunch forward, so we're trying to have that length in our spine. One more breath. And exhale out through the mouth. And then using the core and the legs, nice strong lift up to the ceiling, and then we come back down. So we'll do a few of these little squats. Inhale as we come up. And exhale as we come down. Feeling the burn in our legs. I love yoga. And last one. On the next time, we'll stay up. Inhale, reach up. And then on the exhale, release the hands. And we start to now heel toe our feet a tiny bit wider, so into a wide legged straddled. And we're going to have our toes pointing to the corners of our mat. Inhale, we reach up. And then now we start to sink our bottom down. And you can release your hands onto your knees. And we come into a goddess posture. And then just rocking from side to side. Easing into the posture. Keeping our shoulders nice and back, opening up our chest as we do this. So this is nice to open up the hips, but it's also strengthening our gluteals, all the muscles around our hip. It's a bit of strengthening as well. Now we can come down onto the right side, so you come into Spider-Man. And then coming over to the other side. You might come a bit higher as well, so you can just play around with this position and your movement. You might like to stay in one side and have a bit of a stretch. You might like to keep moving, so just do how you feel today. You can be a bit higher, swaying your hands from side to side. So just inviting any movement that feels good. Have a bit of fun and play around with it. And then coming back to center, coming back to our goddess pose. Inhale, we come up. Now pointing the toes inward slightly, hands on our hips, and we fold our body forward. And then we can start to touch the earth. So folding our body forward, making any adjustments with your feet that's necessary. And then we can start to walk our hands out in front of us. So we've got a nice big stretch with our hands, and we're sending our hips backwards, but we're stretching forward. That's it. And then just allow the head to be loose, the neck to be relaxed, the shoulders to be relaxed, and the face. As we're doing this, one more breath. Starting to walk our hands back, and you can choose to bring your hands to your hips for a bit of support. Inhale halfway, look forward, and then inhale again all the way. And we exhale and release. Heels come back in so that our toes are pointing outwards. We come into goddess. Sinking down again, our bottom. And then this time we're going to stay in the posture a bit more. So lifting up, big stretch with our hands. So you're interlacing our hands into a fist above your head. So we've got a nice strong posture here. And then we can start to do some stretches from side to side, reaching over, then coming back up and coming to the other side. And at any time, if this is too much for the legs, we can also just come back out and then sink back down. This is a strengthening pose. And then you can just go from side to side, or you might like to come and do some big circles with your hands. Like a big, strong, fiery goddess. Feeling that fire burn. So do 2 more, but on the other direction now. Or you might just be going from side to side. Or you might just be lifting up. That's also okay. Meet up. 1 more breath here. And then releasing. Toes come inwards. Release your hands. And we'll bring our hands in a fist behind our back, opening up the shoulders. And we fold our body forward, sending the hips backwards, allowing the hands to melt over your head, opening up the shoulders as we do this. Taking a breath, allowing our body to melt forward. One more breath. And again, you can keep your hands clasped behind your back or your hands on your hips. Just make sure that we engage our core as we lift up. Slowly on inhale, and then release our hands. Heels come back inwards, toes pointing out. 1 more goddess, we're almost there. This time keep your hands on your thighs, melting down into the posture. Sending the left shoulder into the center. And so we're going to look over our right shoulder to the back of the room. So we're feeling a bit of a twist in our upper back. Inhale. And exhale here. 1 more inhale. And exhale. On the next inhale, come forward. Straighten. And on the exhale, our right shoulder comes in. Looking over the left. 1 more breath. And exhale. And again, inhaling. You might be able to twist a tiny bit more on the exhale. Come back to center on the inhale. And then make this into a flow. Exhaling as we twist. Inhale as we come to center. Exhale as we twist. 1 more on each side. Coming back to center. And then we come into our last forward fold, so straightening the legs, bringing the toes inwards. Hands on our hips, making our spine nice and long, and then folding forward again. This time we might be able to bring our hands closer, walk our hands closer in towards our feet, folding forward a bit more. You might be able to even hold your feet with your toes. Just explore around with what you're doing, allowing the head to melt or the blood flow to come towards our head. Inhaling deeply and releasing any tension that we're holding in our body, any emotions that we're holding onto, allow them to release. Left hand comes into the center of the mat. Inhale, we reach our right hand up to the sky. Little twist in the top of the spine. Taking a breath and exhale. One more inhale, reach up. And on the exhale, floating the hand down, replacing it where the left hand was. Inhale, reach the left hand up to the ceiling. So coming over to the other side, so feeling that nice stretch in the top of the spine. One more inhale. And exhale. Inhale, lengthen again. And then release. And you might make this into a bit of a flow, coming from side to side. You also might just prefer to forward fold and angle your head. That's also okay. So just listening to what your body needs. And then once you've done an even amount of both sides, coming back into our proper forward fold. Option to have the hands on the hips, or we can just bring them wide. Inhale, engage the core. We inhale, we reach up. Hands up above our head. Start to heel toe our feet back into hip width apart. And we come to stand in our Tadasana, nice and tall, mountain posture. And then just doing any last movements that we'd like with our hips, maybe a few little circles. Just feeling the gratitude that we have for our hips, which hold us in balance in our body. And just feeling grateful for the freedom that of movement and mobility that our hips bring us. And then coming into stillness, rolling our shoulders back, hands nice and strong, feet firmly planted in the ground, really feeling the connection to the ground, bringing our hands into our heart. And then just taking a moment to think about how can we invite a bit more freedom into our lives. And then we inhale all together and we bow namaste. Thank you for giving up your time to do some yoga together.